MLG Anaheim was an incredible event for competitors and spectators alike. The production quality, the tournament format, the return of the open bracket, really everything deserves endless praise. However, in the grand finals, the competitive integrity took a huge hit. During round 1 of a Game 5 Breach Search and Destroy between Elevate and Optic Gaming, we saw Nagafin of Team Elevate going to try and clutch a, admittedly, unconvincing 1v3. Briefly after Optic Gaming had planted the bomb, Nagafin went over to it to try and ninja defuse, playing the odds in his favor just as well as he could in this situation. Now, just as he starts doing this, the crowd immediately just starts roaring different sections of it with, "He's defusing the bomb, 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 bomb." Different spectators were jumping up and down, waving their arms, trying to get Optic Gaming's attention because the team was also facing them, so if they couldn't hear them, they could certainly see them. No one is doubting, or at least no one should be doubting, that Optic Gaming would have checked the bomb anyway. Hell, I had them winning that entire series in the tournament in the first place. But the fact that we'll never know, and the fact that these ninja defuses have happened in these similar situations before, and the crowd has ruined them almost as often, is a big problem that we should address. Things like this can also happen at Counter-Strike events, but because of how different the defuse mechanics are in Counter-Strike and Call of Duty, where in Counter-Strike you can keep your gun up and it's almost instantaneous, whereas Call of Duty there's an entire animation of picking up the bomb, it's a bit different. Esports, unlike traditional sports, should have as little crowd reaction and interaction as possible when it comes to affecting the gameplay. This is the reason that we give these players soundproof headsets to go over their earbuds for the main stage, and why on every other event we stick them in soundproof booths. It should be Team A with X amount of players versus Team B and X amount of players, ideally. And just to be clear for anyone missing the point, MLG is not to blame for not having soundproof booths, as it's still likely that they still could have heard them in the first place, as said by Clayster. Optic Gaming fans and competitive COD fans alike are also not to blame for being excited and cheering and making lots of noise in the crowd. It's a sporting event, but the players that are jumping up and down and waving their arms around and trying to get the attention of the people on stage competing and screaming, "He's defusing the bomb, 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 bomb," should not be ignored and should certainly be taken into account. Now, this is a bit of a weird gray area, so I feel like there's no perfect solution. Otherwise, if there were, you can only imagine that MLG Activision would already be taking care of it. So I'm going to provide some suggestions that we can do moving forward for all tournaments that are capable of following through with them. Soundproof booths and the headset combination should be used at every single event that is capable of having them. Just because players can sometimes hear things through the headset and the combination of the soundproof booth does not mean we should not use it. Just because the crowd can be heard through the headsets sometimes does not mean we should also not use the headsets. My next suggestion would be to turn players around or use one-way glass in front of them. The fact that people say that, oh, it completely ruins the viewer experience because I can't see Clay jump up and do the Superman or whatever it is he's been doing. Who cares? These guys are not performers. The performance is the competition, which, luckily for you, is projected up onto a big screen above their heads. Not to mention, we're not putting up a huge black barrier in front of the players. You can still see them. Either it's their backs and their jerseys to where you can see their names, or it's one-way glass and you can see them, but they can't see you. If fans in the crowd are waving their arms or even have signs with information on them, or they're even screaming certain things to the players to tell them how to play the game, then that should be treated just as walking up on stage and saying, "Hey, Crim, they don't have tac mask on. Use stuns." Another option is to inform spectators ahead of time that they are not to disclose sensitive information to the players while the matches are going on. This is kind of like a more legal type of thing, and I'm not any sort of a legal authority by any means, so I don't know how this would be worded or if this even holds any weight, but I feel like it's something that should at least be communicated so that people know that that's not okay. My final option is to just place more security throughout the crowd. I'm not talking about people with batons and tasers ready to take anyone out that gives a little bit too much information, but people that are either there to shush people that are saying things that are offensive or disruptive, or to quiet down people that are obviously trying to interrupt the game. Again, it can go as far as just giving them a warning to actually kicking them out of the venue if they're that big of an issue. But one thing that needs to also happen in combination with this is that the refs and the admins need to offer replays in the game, especially because this was only the first round. That could have just been replayed right away. Hopefully for future Call of Duty tournaments, things like these are accounted for if we're going to start having such large crowds watching these games, because at some point it does end up hurting the players and the competition overall. This has been FPS Breakdown. You're watching Esports on PvP Live.